What if you didn't disappear because you stopped caring? What if you disappeared because you finally started paying attention to something most people walk past their entire lives? Think about it. Have you ever gone silent in a group chat and just not gone back? Skipped a dinner you used to look forward to? Felt a strange, quiet distance settle between you and someone you once told everything to? And then the guilt crept in. Because everyone around you acted like you owed them a reason. Like you were supposed to perform some little explanation for why you needed less of them now. You're not broken. You're not cold. Things shifted. And today, we're going to look at exactly what that shift is, why it makes you pull away, and why the last piece of this puzzle will reframe every relationship you've ever walked away from. Let's start where it actually begins. Not with some dramatic falling out, not with a fight, with noticing. You're at a dinner with friends, and someone compliments you. Warm smile, kind words, but something in your chest tightens, because for the first time you hear the little edge underneath. The slight pause before they say, "good for you," the way their eyes flicker toward the other people at the table, checking for reactions. You used to just hear the compliment. Now you hear the whole sentence around it. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Psychologists call this pattern recognition. Your brain spent years quietly filing away tiny behavioral data points, a tone, a timing, a glance, and one day it has enough files to build a picture. You didn't become suspicious. You became literate. Like the first time you notice a crack in a wall you've looked at every day, for years. You didn't create the crack. You just finally have the angle to see it. And now your eye goes straight to it every single time you walk past. So you start choosing your rooms more carefully, not because you think you're better than anyone, because you've realized that protecting your attention is no longer optional, it's survival. And here's where the story gets less flattering than we'd like to admit. It's not just that you notice more, it's that noticing costs something. Every conversation now runs on two channels. There's what's being said, and then there's the quiet, tireless narration underneath it, the part of your brain that's tracking intention, subtext, the gap between someone's words and their body language. You can't switch it off. You've tried. Think of it like standing in a room where every conversation is happening at the same volume. You don't leave because you hate sound. You leave because your ears never got a dial. They just take in everything all the time at full intensity. And after a while, the noise doesn't feel like connection anymore. It feels like erosion. A friendship that used to fill you up starts feeling one-sided. A crowded room starts feeling strangely hollow. Not because the people changed, because your tolerance for surface-level contact quietly ran out. And the question you start asking isn't how many people know me anymore. It's who actually sees me. And that question, once it lands, reshapes everything. But let's step away from the emotional side of this for a second and look at what's really driving the distance. There's an idea Carl Jung circled that hits different once you've lived it. He suggested that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And what that means in practice is this. Most of the people around you aren't reacting to you. They're reacting to their own old fears, their own unhealed insecurities, their own need to feel in control. The friend who criticizes your new direction might be quietly terrified you're outgrowing them. The person who always needs your attention might simply be afraid of sitting in a room alone with their own thoughts. And once you see that machinery, something releases. You stop taking the bait. You stop absorbing someone else's anxiety as your own failure. Like watching a film you've seen 100 times and suddenly noticing the boom mic dipping into the frame. You don't hate the movie. You just can't pretend the artifice isn't there anymore. And you stop auditioning for roles in other people's scripts. That's not coldness. That's the quiet, unglamorous work of emotional intelligence. The ability to feel what someone else is feeling without letting it make your decisions for you. And once that skill is online, you don't answer every message. You don't chase every relationship. Not because you don't care, Because you've learned the hard way that every yes to the wrong room is a no to your own mind. And this is where the misunderstanding gets almost cruel. People look at your silence and they assume you fell in love with being alone, that you decided one day you just didn't need anyone. But that's not what happened. You didn't fall in love with loneliness. You fell in love with clarity. For the first time in your life, silence stops feeling like a punishment. It becomes the one place where your own thoughts aren't being drowned out by other people's expectations. Research on healthy solitude backs this up. Periods of intentional alone time strengthen self-reflection, emotional regulation, and long-term decision-making. You're not escaping. You're calibrating. Like surfacing from underwater after holding your breath so long you forgot you were submerged. The air doesn't feel empty. It feels like the first honest breath in years. You read more. You sit with a thought longer than 30 seconds. You question your own beliefs instead of just inheriting someone else's opinions. And slowly, quietly, you stop needing applause from people who never really understood what you were building in the first place. Because real confidence isn't assembled from other people's approval. It's built from self-respect. And self-respect is a quiet thing. It doesn't need witnesses. And now, the piece that changes everything. You didn't vanish overnight. You disappeared one realization at a time. One Tuesday, you stopped arguing with someone who had already decided not to understand you. One Thursday, you let a friendship go quiet instead of propping it up out of guilt. And then, without announcing it, without posting some dramatic farewell, you just started building a life that didn't depend on constant permission to exist. To everyone watching from the outside, it looked sudden, maybe even selfish. But inside, that decision had been growing for months, maybe years. Like a tide going out, no announcement, no crash. You just look up one evening, and the shoreline is somewhere else, entirely. And the sand where the water used to be is still wet, still warm. But the ocean made its decision a long time ago. And here's the line most people never cross. They think disappearing means you lost something. The truth is, you were the one who'd been lost. Disappearing from everyone else was the only way you could finally stop disappearing from yourself. So if you're in that quiet stretch right now, if you've been pulling back and feeling guilty about it, here's the practice. 3 small things. 1. Stop narrating your withdrawal to people who will use it as evidence against you. You don't owe a press conference. 2. Name out loud, even just to yourself, one relationship you're maintaining out of guilt rather than genuine connection. You don't have to cut it off tonight. Just name it. And 3. Protect 1 hour a week that belongs to no one but you. Not a phone call, not a favor, just you, in a room, with your own unmonitored thoughts. It kept you safe. It's quiet, careful stepping back. It got you here. And here is not a punishment. It's the first honest coordinates you've had in a long time. So tell me in the comments, when was the last time you quietly disappeared from someone's life? And what was the moment you realized you weren't coming back? I read every single one. And I think your story might be the exact thing someone else needs to read tonight. And if you want more unfiltered looks at how the human mind actually works, no lectures, no fluff, just the mechanisms underneath, hit subscribe. We're building something honest here, and you're clearly the kind of person who notices things. So stick around.